Well, all right, and hello to you on this wonderful, beautiful day. We're coming to you for this February tape high atop Mount Shasta. Now, as most of you know, I've been on the road for a while, so it has taken me a little bit of time to actually get to making these tapes. So what we're doing now is the February tape, and we're doing it, on May the 9th. I'm on top of Mount Shasta. It's a comfortable 29 degrees, which is unique. For May the 9th, it's snowing, so it's a white snow up here. I apologize for not getting the tapes there earlier, but the truth of the matter was the 1 or 2 days off that I would have, it's like you have to be really clear and really in the mood to make the tapes so that you get the most benefit of knowledge. And so that's why it's taken me so long. So here we go. We're starting out. Now, let's talk about change. Now, I know you're going to get this tape in May, and it's the February tape, but I want to go back and talk about the things that have happened to you in January, February, March, and April, so that there will be a record of, just a record of what we're doing. Now, let's take a look at the change. Change is quite unique. It's something that we all go through. It's something that I've been telling you every workshop on Friday night that you will go through. We are turning into light, therefore as we begin to turn into light, things in our world will begin to change, especially our physical structures. We have been getting ready to change our physical form for a while. We all have heard that we're supposed to be turning into light. We've all kind of been doing our little thing. We believe inside our hearts that perhaps we're turning into light, but we're not really sure what kind of changes or metamorphoses will take place on the physical plane. So what I would like to do in this tape is to give you a recall of what has actually happened to your body during, the month of January, February, March, April, and May. Because now here at May, if any of you have actually taken a good look at yourselves, you will have undergone several major changes. Now here's the key with all of it. We have been praying to God our entire life. We have known somewhere inside of ourselves that things were going to happen. We had these looks that perhaps maybe we knew something, perhaps we were a little special, perhaps things, for us, we seem to have some sort of an insight. We've known that we were special, we've known that we were different, we're just basically kind of hanging out there, trying to put it all together. Now, physically, if you're going to turn into light, there's really going to be some changes. And let's talk about them. Let's start out with physicalness. And let us start off with the senses first. Now, the senses. Let's start with the eyes. If you have been noticing the eyes, some of you have been experiencing some eye changing. Now, when I give a list of all of the physical things that are starting to happen to us, it is based on the reality that not all of these changes are going to happen in every one of us. See, each one of us is somewhat different than the other, and therefore certain things will happen to us, certain things will happen to somebody else, certain things will happen to this part of the group, certain things will happen to that part of the group. If you're trying to find something that you can go, well, wow, this happened to all of us, so therefore, woohoo, it's happening to me, that may not be the case. Let's take a look at those of us that are within the support group or the fellowship, and I'm talking to you on this tape, and I'm presuming that you're in one of those two groups, if you have a series of tapes. Let's take a look at how many of us there are in the group. Now, there's several of us out there now, we're in the hundreds, and the things that I say can't possibly happen to all of us equally because we are not of the same personalities. We are not of the same birth dates. We are some mental, some physical, some emotional, some spiritual. We are a group of a totally tremendous different grouping of essence. So when I give you this list of things that are happening in your body, if it's not happening to you, you may fall in another group where another set of things are happening to you. So if things are or are not changing for you as I'm explaining, don't worry. I'll keep bringing tapes and we'll keep watching ourselves grow. Don't feel left out. Don't feel that because something's happening to your friend, not happening to you, it's like, oh wow, you're not doing good enough, or you're not doing the right thing, or you're not working hard enough. Those are pictures from a person who you are not. Those are pictures from a person who's still into blame and guilt and not thinking that they are changing after they just put all this time in on themselves. Listen to the changes. Know that not everybody is having them. Know that some are having an emotional change, some are having a mental change, some are having a physical change, some are having a spiritual change. And that we'll just sort of take each of these changes and kind of bring it down on the physical plane so that you can hear what we're talking about. So let's start with the eyes. Being as how this is May, this would have probably happened like a month ago. Your eyes would have been burning, or it felt as if you had gravel in them, or it felt as if you had stayed up too late and your eyes were kind of getting that tired feeling. They might have felt like somebody threw gravel in them. Some of you might even have felt it like because it was in the corners of the eye, you had to keep looking for the styes, as if the styes were something that was growing in there. When you looked, however, you will have noticed that you didn't have any styes. As a matter of fact, your eyes weren't even red. Now, the sensation of the burning eyes probably lasted about a week and a half to 2 weeks. It was a simple change. Your periphery vision, if you were looking at all, you will have noticed that there are some sparkles, perhaps, or there are some flecks sparkling off in the distance. Or you notice that different rays of light seem to be coming in from the side of your eyes. It was all periphery. As you went to take a physical look, sometimes the eyes caught it a little bit, sometimes they didn't. But nevertheless, the physical eyes are changing. Now, the change that some of you are experiencing in your eyes, if this is starting to happen, this change in terms of eyes is going to last for approximately 2 years. You see, when we turn into light, the thing that's going to happen to us first is that the senses, touch, smell, taste, seeing, hearing, sensing, these senses will be the first things to change because they must be able to experience the multi-dimensional levels that you are, and they must be able to report back to the physical plane the things that are starting to transpire for the eyes. Now, these sense organs that we have, our senses, they need to reach through and touch other dimensions. So let's stay with the eyes. Now, some of you have noticed, your eyes have been burning. It felt like you had gravel in them. You actually had to take a look at it because you weren't sure if you had styes or not. Yes, the peripheral vision is starting to change. If you are starting to experience things like that in your eyes, it's because the eyes are starting to open up into other dimensions. Now, in the human eye, the screen that is in the back of the eye has the capacity to bring in the astral or feeling or the emotional plane and the causal plane as they are right now. You were born with these particular things. Now, because you were born with these particular things, it isn't really necessary for you to shut your eyes and then try to be clairvoyant. You see, you can keep your eyes open and be clairvoyant. All of the things from the other dimensions are imprinted on the optic nerve, on the screen in the back of the eye, on the retina, and sent into your brain. You will perceive the colors, you will perceive the dimensions, and you will perceive all of the things that are going on. However, the mind, per se, may not want to register the paranormal ability of clairvoyance. Now, because we have all the mechanisms in our eye from the moment of birth to see all the multidimensional scenarios, what we've observed is that the human species has a tendency to not believe that they can see these other dimensions. Now that means the universe is going to have to make a few minor adjustments within the eye and within the brain and within the other bodies that you are to encourage the eye to start to see. Now, the essence is going to have to place attention on your eyes so that they will become more familiar with stretching to see things that they could not see before. The mind must now work with the eyes. If you notice your eyes have been getting a little irritated and things, start affirming audibly to yourself that you are starting to get some visual changes and that you are starting to be able to perceive, using the word perceive. Don't try to use the word see or look or any of those things. Use the word perceive, because then the vision will have a chance to work in retrospect with the mind, so that the mind's eye, listen to my words, the mind's eye will start to function up the physical eye so that they all feel that they are one aspect, and that this one aspect now is working as a whole with the whole. Okay. Your eyes, like I had mentioned earlier, are going to change for the next 2 years. The burning sensations may only last for a week or two. The flex or the different vision may only last for small lengths of time. I'm talking about the unusualness that will start, because eventually the unusualness will disappear and new true color of perception will start to come in. So in terms of eyes, this is kind of like an important thing for us to take care of, pay attention to, grow with. If you perhaps see unusual things moving past you and you didn't quite see it, train yourself to go, wow, I did feel that, yes, I did perceive it, therefore, yes, I may have seen that also. Work with the eyes, talk to them. Start to encourage yourself that, yes, you are seeing more. Yes, you are seeing the things you need to see. Yes, you are seeing the changes in yourself. Yes, you are seeing the growth in you. Now, by seeing the growth in you and seeing these changes, you will force yourself to see another perspective in your seeing. So it's a matter of, you want to use the word perceiving. When you use the word seeing, you want to use the word seeing in terms of overall essence, like the mind and the eyes. I am seeing with my third eye. I am seeing the differences in my changes. I am seeing how I am growing through these things. See, that way you are using the word seeing and perception in an overall essence that is just not making reference to the eyes. This way, you are audibilizing more awareness into the perception of seeing and knowing. Now, has everybody sort of got that? You're going to work in terms of audibilizing your vision so that you will become conscious of the words that you are using with your vision. Therefore, you will become conscious of other things starting to manifest within your vision. So this is it. You are now going to start practicing paying attention to the words seeing, looking, perceiving, and you're going to use these words as key buzzwords so that when you're in present time, boom, these words pop right up. You know what they mean. You know what they're about. Your brain goes, hey, we're picking this up on a multidimensional level. Hey, this is working really well for me. Yes, what do we need to do now? Yes, I'm perceiving that things are starting to become clearer, and I'm seeing a lot more than I saw with my eyes before. I'm seeing and perceiving now with my essence, with my consciousness. Oh, wow. You want to start becoming so totally aware of that sense that you're going to start watching your words, and you're going to start really honing in on these words. Now, that pretty much takes care of what I can give you in terms of the visuals. Now, those are the eyes. Next, let's take the next sense. let us take hearing. Okay, hearing, ears. Okay, what have we noticed about our ears lately? Okay, now about our ears, how many of you have started to notice that they've been plugging up more? They have. They have been plugging up more. Now, this isn't for all of you. This is just for those of you who needed to do a little extra stuff, or this is what your field may be, or this is what your expertise is going to be. How many of you have now started to notice that in your hearing, without even having to go up a hill, sometimes it starts to plug? You know, and you have to kind of move your jaw and like pop your ears to get that pressurized scenario or essence that you have been working with lately to clear itself. You may have noticed it on a little trip or something, your ears kind of plugged up on you just a little bit. You had to pop them, but nevertheless, they're starting to grow and change. Now, when they're starting to grow and change, this means that you are growing and changing, and that the things that you are starting to hear have to be refined. Now, when you hear, we're going to hear more than just what we hear. You see, people say words. Words come out of their mouth. We hear what they are saying. We now have to be able to perceive with our hearing the true meaning of what people are trying to say to us. We're not trying to second guess their words and say, well, they're saying the wrong words here. What they really mean is. That's not it. That's arrogance. That's ego. That's your God brain thinking that it is so in tune that it knows what people are saying. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about listening to people, not trying to interpret what you think they're saying, but listening to the love that they're emanating in their words and in the movements of their voice. We are looking for the multi-dimensional levels. We're not here to second guess what they're saying. We're looking for the love in which they're saying it. Now let me give you a little more clearer picture on this in terms of healing. You've all heard of the unheard sounds. Now, the unheard sounds, they're called shrutis. They're that high-pitched sound that goes through your brain every now and then that you hear coming in through your ear, but you know it's not a real sound because you're the only one that's hearing it. Now, these sounds come from dimensions outside of ourselves, physically. But where they're coming from is still part of our essence that has the ability to hear those subtler, and let's call them more loving sounds. Now, have you noticed that the shrutis, or these unheard sounds that occasionally you have been hearing, are a little more frequent lately? And here's the catch. They're coming from a little different pitch. They're coming from a little lower, more bass sound. In other words, before it kind of be like, ooh, and now it's more like, ooh, ooh. Now, remember in the past how when these sounds would come up, what we would do is, you know how sometimes you try to like cock your head or cock your ear or like cock your jaw or cock your body so that you could get this sound to last longer. And if you're like any of the rest of us, this is what you tried to do. We tried to make a way of figuring out how to hold on to this sound so that we could actually use it. Now, if you have been noticing when these high-pitched, lower tonal sounds come in, if you play with it, what you've noticed is that you can get that sound to last a little longer now. As a matter of fact, when the universe really starts to give you more insight in this field, you're going to find that when the shrutis come, you're going to get such a handle on it that you're going to be able to extend that sound longer and longer. Now, when we start to extend this sound, now it's going to be subtle, and some of you are going, what is happening to me? When's it going to happen to me? It may or may not. All I'm saying is, for those of you who are starting to have this experience, start to work with it. Now, by telling yourself that you can hear longer than before, you can sense longer than before, you can perceive longer than before, you're going to start to open up the subtler part of your hearing, so that within the next several years, your hearing is going to become acute in such a way that you will hear what the other dimensions are doing, what they are working on. Now remember, this is all about change. If we're really growing and we're really going to change, then you have to perceive the fact that this is all coming about. And that, yes, I guess we're supposed to be hearing on other dimensions. And we will get the abilities when we need them, and not really a moment before that. Now, besides this hearing, these tones may start to come in such a way that, well, let me give you a point of reference. If a tone comes in on the note of D, what we have begun to observe is that it is more of an extraterrestrial type tonal trying to make contact with you. If you have a banjo or a guitar or a horn or a piano or a pitch pipe, blow the tone of D and you'll know what you're listening for. If this tone happens to come rolling into your head, hey, get with the program. I hear the tone. I'm open, God. I hear you, God. In what form? Extraterrestrial or what? Are you trying to communicate with me, God? What are you trying to say to me, extraterrestrials? What are we trying to communicate? With a little effort on your part, and stretching in there to make it work, and knowing what pitch directs you to what area of God, you go to that part of God. Now, extraterrestrials are also God. They have the same space going through their being as everybody else. We're trying to find the godness in the space being. We're not trying to find the unit. We're trying to find the essence of who they are and what they are. Okay, now I want this tape to run out, so we're going to go over to the other side. See you there. Thank you. All right. Here we are again. And we're talking about our senses, our hearing, our vision, and our change. Okay, so we were with the ears. Now, still staying with the ears. By being able to understand what a pitch in essence is, it allows us to get together in ourself the understanding of the expansion of God. Now, when we hear other things or we see other things, there is a part of the brain that's going to go, oh wow, extra paranormal material, oh boy, I'm starting to get to see this. That's not what it's about. What you're seeing and hearing is God. You want to be able to see and hear more God. You don't want to be able to see and hear other dimensions. You want to be able to see and hear multi-levels of God, not multi-levels of other beings. Those you will see and hear, but what you're really truly looking for is the God essence that is within all of these things. The visuals will be something that we need right up front so that we can understand it and see how it works. And basically, it is a reflective point of view for our divinity. And that's why I say the pitch of D is for extraterrestrials. I'm not telling you to go into a spaceship and shake hands with an extraterrestrial being. I'm telling you that as they sit there and say to themselves, I love you, God, I love you, God, I love you, God, I love you, God, we, because this is something that we also do, will be able to tune in on that frequency modulation. By saying, I love you, God, I love you, God, I can hear you out there, beings of essence. I know you're trying to talk to me, and if you do, that's fine too. But I can feel your love of God, and that's what we're interested in. We're not interested in anything else coming through that is just strictly here for the paranormal. We're strictly here for the God aspect of perception and hearing. In this hearing, you will begin to notice that D is not the only pitch you will hear, and that could be the angels, the elves, the gnomes, the fairies, the masters, the angels. It could be any one of their pitches, and they each have a different one, because this is how people really do communicate in other dimensions, in other worlds. You do it from essence, not from form. Okay, your ears, I think I've kind of covered now, sort of like the visuals. Your eyes are changing, your hearing is changing. Learn to hear differently. Now, in retrospect to hearing, let's stay close to these particular senses, and let's drop down to the mouth. Now, the mouth. Now, once again, this isn't for everybody. This is just for those of us who are starting to go through different sense changes. Some are going to start with the feeling of touch, some hearing, some seeing, some smelling, some tasting. That's one group. Another group will have a feeling of knowing, a feeling of knowledge, a feeling of communication, a feeling of insight. Okay, so let's stay now with the mouth. What I've observed in terms of the mouth is some of you are starting to have problems with the TMJ. Now, the TMJ is the muscle that works the hinge part of the jaw right next to the ear. Some people are starting to notice that their teeth and their jaws are starting to give them unusual feelings, unusual senses, and that the teeth are starting to go through some unusual changes. You're almost having to look at a dentist a little more than what you thought. Some of you, as I've already heard, have gone to the dentist and have had your teeth checked and looked at because they were becoming more sensitive, more nerves seemed to be happening, but when you actually got them checked out, nothing new, nothing wrong. The mouth is going to change. The adjustment of the jaws are going to change a little bit because you are going to have to change the way you talk a little bit. As we begin to talk about God more and more, our mouth and jaw muscles will also begin to change. You see, in the past, the jaw, the mouth, and the muscles were used to stuff like, oh yeah, well I don't believe in you. Oh yeah, well you're no good. Oh yeah, well gossip. Oh yeah, well put down. Oh yeah, well blame. Oh yeah, it was never my fault. Oh yeah, it's always an accident. See, our jaw is used to repeating all of the old patterns who we used to be. The complainer, or the martyr, or the victim. I mean, remember your mouth and remember your rap and remember who you used to be? Yeah, that's it. Well, to affirm all those things on who you used to be, your jaw and your muscles and your teeth formed a certain pattern to create those words. To create, yeah, I'm just going to pay taxes and drop dead. As you begin to think more about God and say more about God-like things and put out more God stuff, your jaw is going to have to change. Because you'll find that the tonal and the words that you're using now are dealing more with God, and can I help you, and can I serve you, and I don't want to be angry anymore, and I'm learning how to let go of this, and I'm not judging, and I'm not blaming. As your vocabulary starts to change towards a more positive, more lighten up, more light attitude, you're going to find that your jaw, after 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 years worth of saying all garbage, and now shifting to loving, pleasant, I love you kind of things, your physical jaw and all of its muscles and all of the nerves are going to have to adapt to the new you